Hey everybody, it's Todd Price here, coming to you from Colorado. Today we're going to talk about guitar sounds, from sound to signal and back to sound again. Let's start off with just the guitar sound itself. Guitar is 6 strings, and this is an example of an E major chord. So this is multiple strings playing at once. But actually what is happening when you pluck one string, you're creating a vibration, and the tension of that string determines whether that vibration is a higher tone or a lower tone. I can tighten the string, it goes up or back down. And so just the nature of sound itself is a form of a wave, and the sound of a string is actually a sound wave that is deflecting off of the top of the guitar mostly. A lot of people think it's the hole itself, but it's actually the top that is amplifying a lot of the sound on an acoustic guitar. And then this is just more of a sound chamber, but the actual vibration is coming off mostly off the top, but it does come from the whole guitar. So this particular sound, this is not an electric guitar, but this is an acoustic guitar, so we get our sound from the instrument itself. It's not electrified in any way, although it does have what's called a guitar pickup in it, and it can pick up the sound and put it into an amplifier. Let's switch gears a little bit and look at the electric guitar. The electric guitar also has 6 strings on it, and it sounds like an acoustic from the standpoint of you play chords on it, play single note melodies. But we've got these things called pickups, and the pickups are a guitar can have one pickup, or it can have multiple pickups. This particular guitar has 3 pickups. The positioning of the pickup tells you what kind of tone you're going to get. Like if a pickup is positioned back by what's called the bridge, if you play back there, you get a very more higher pitch harmonic tone. Whereas if you play up here, you get a more deeper, warmer tone. Well, you can switch the pickup to up here, and it accentuates that even more. So what's really happening is when you hit the string is vibrating. It's a metal string, and the pickup is a magnet with a wire, coil wire around it. And when that string vibrates, it creates a magnetic field, a changing field in the magnet, and then the wire around the magnet is actually picking up a signal. That signal is basically going out your cable, and then you have a volume to attenuate the signal, make it lower or higher in terms of volume, and then you have tone controls to change the amount of higher frequencies that are passed through or not passed through, giving you a different tone. Okay then, so now we're going to not actually play into an amplifier, but we're going to simulate an amplifier so that we can see the actual signal that would go into an amplifier. So we are going to be plugging into what's called an analog to digital converter. The analog signal is a signal that comes out of the pickups through the guitar into the cable, and then through the cable into the A to D converter. An analog signal is generated by the pickups, and once it goes into the converter, it gets converted to digital. So what we have here is a track on DAW that can model a guitar amp. So the guitar amp is right here, and then we will be recording some analog sounds and looking at it from a digital perspective. But it'll give us an analog view of what the signal looks like. So there are many things we can do with a DAW, but what we're going to look at here is where the signal input is. I have 18 different inputs on my A to D converter, and so we're using input number 1. So when I play the guitar, it's going to actually generate a signal through input number 1, as you can see from the signal being generated here. So what we can do is we can record that signal, and we can take a look at what it looks like from an analog standpoint. So if I turn on record here, I'm going to hit the low E note, and I'm going to hit it twice, and then we'll hit the high E note. We'll do that twice as well. So here's the low E note twice. And the high E note twice. Okay, so we have a recording of me hitting the notes. So what we can do now is we can stretch and magnify that so we can get a look at what does that signal look like. And what it's going to look like is a signal that goes up and down at a certain frequency, and that frequency coincides with the vibration on the guitar string. Now, a perfect signal would be what's called a perfect sine wave. But this signal has got what's called different harmonics in it and different timbres in it because of the fact that it's just a guitar note. A flute note would look a little different, and a cello note would look different. But this is basically the frequency of a low E on the guitar. And then so if we look at the high E, we can also see that that frequency is an order of 3 higher. So you can almost see the sine wave in there, but it's got other harmonics in there, which that's what makes the sound of the guitar unique. So what we've done is we've taken an analog signal, brought it in digitally, and then reconstructed it to an analog view so that you can see what it looks like. And you can see that the amplitude of the signal goes lower and lower as the string vibration moves down to nothing. So then if we move on to the high E signal, you'll see that the frequency of these sine waves is much greater. So it's a higher frequency because when you hit the high E string, it vibrates faster, and that's what gives you the higher tone. So what we can do is we could split these and be able to look at the low E on one track, and then we'll create another track, and we'll look at the high E on the second track. We'll just drag it down there, and then we can kind of expand it out, magnify it, and we can actually see the difference between the frequency of a low E string and a high E string. Now imagine you're playing multiple strings at once. You're going to see a summation of different frequencies, and that's really what you have coming out of an electric guitar. That's it for today. Be sure and click subscribe and ring the bell. Thank you.